गलद्दानगण्डं विरभृङ्गखण्डं चलच्चारुशुण्डं जगत्राणशौण्डं लसद्दन्तकाण्डं विपद्भङ्गचण्डं शिवप्रेमपिण्डं व्रजे वक्रतुण्डम् अहं निर्विकल्पो निराकाररूपो विभुर्व्याप्य सर्वत्र सर्वेन्द्रियाणां सदा मे समत्वं न मुक्तिर्न बन्धः चिदानन्दरूप शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूप शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहम् गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। ब्रह्मानन्दं परमसुखदं केवलं ज्ञानमूर्तिं द्वन्द्वातीतं गगनसदृशं तत्त्वमस्यादिलक्ष्यम् एकं नित्यं विमलमचलं सर्वधी साक्षिभूतं भावातीतं त्रिगुणरहितं सद्गुरुं तं नमामि। श्री सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय। जय जय रघुवीर समर्थ। I go at the lotus feet of Prabhu Shri Ramachandra, as well at the lotus feet of my Sadguru, Param Pujya Dr. Shri Krishna Dattatre Deshmukh, who we fondly call as Dr. Dharma. Also Param Pujya Mata Ki Gandhi. Vandan to all of us. And a warm welcome to all of you. Though all of you understand Marathi, I was requested to speak in English. I'll try my best. You will understand why I said I'll try my best, because typically the topic I talk about, English is not a great language to convey the message. It's a circus, it's a jugglery. We'll try. So, first of all, I would like to begin saying thanks to Vishva Hindu Parishad, USA, BHPK, as well as Baltimore, Maharashtra, Mandal. Anybody from BMM here? In the back seat? All right. So thanks to both the organizations for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to have this discussion, open discussion with all of you. I am specifically using the word discussion. Do not think that I am here to preach anything. I'm just having open dialogue. So thanks for the opportunity. Really appreciate it. Also, congratulations to all of us on the completion of 100 years of Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. Let's cherish that for a moment. How many organizations in the world do you think have completed 100 years with millions of volunteers working all over the world? It is the biggest volunteer organization in the world, by the way, in case you do not know. It's our parent organization, So let's cherish that moment. There's a lot of celebration that's going on in India, Nagpur, everywhere. We know that, headquarters. Because our topic today is Dharmik Karyakarta, and somewhere I saw the reflection of this big moment in the topic itself, because all those our four founding fathers, Keshav, Baliram, Hedgewarji, Adaraniya Guruji, up to Mohan Bhagwatji, they are all Dharmik Karyakartas, which I'm going to talk about today. And that's why the organization could complete 100 years in spite of so much objection and in spite of so-called friendly government of last 70 years of India. Right? Because we just got independence 15 years ago, in my frank opinion. Initially we were being ruled by you know who for 150 years. After that we were ruled by you know who, but the color change, brown, black, whatever you want to call. But the real independence we got when Modiji came to power 50 years ago. Having said that, that is the topic today. And as I mentioned, I'm going to have an open dialogue with you. This is nothing to preach here, because all of us are Karyakartas in some way or fashion. In fact, if you think about it, or when I was thinking about it, if you think about only me and mine, that's what everybody does, right from the first waking moment of the day in the morning to the last moment of the sleep. Everything we think about can be categorized in only two classes, me and mine, me and mine. So the person who throughout his or her life is only thinking about me and mine is a general common man, samsarik manushya. Nothing great about it. Everybody thinks about me and mine. But a person who thinks beyond me and mine is called Karyakarta. Think it about for a moment. A person, which fortunately all of us gathered here, I'm not talking about to what degree, I'm not talking about the magnitude, I'm not talking about the intensity, but the moment you think or you do something about beyond me and mine, you qualify as a Karyakarta. Those who have completely relinquished these concepts called me and mine are called sannyasis. They are monks. And those who have beautifully, magically managed the balance between beyond me and mine and living me and mine are called Samantananda Swami and Swami Vivekananda of the world. They have magically managed both. They don't have the concept of me and mine. In spite of that, they have spent their life working for beyond me and mine. That's Samantananda Swami, that's Swami Vivekananda of the world. Coming back to my point, we all of us are Karyakartas here because we do and we think beyond me, which is me, and mine. Mine is my family, my wife, my kids, which all the people think about and really work for the rest of their life. I personally, why I'm sitting here, why I think I deserve to sit here and having this open dialogue with you, because I'm doing it first and then talking to you. So I have quit my job 2 years ago at the age of 50, when people think about becoming CEO of the company, to dedicate my life, the rest of my life, being a Karyakarta. It's just that my domain is different. It doesn't matter. Everybody's domain, focus, and I will talk about it, can be different. It doesn't matter what the domain is. My domain happens to be the spiritual domain. That's my Sadguru's work I have dedicated my life to. Does that qualify me as Karyakarta? I'm a Karyakarta. In fact, there is a beautiful story Swami Vivekananda has once narrated. I like that story. It's one of my favorite. Why? Because it really captures the essence of karma, which is Karyakarta. Because Karyakarta does karya, which basically means karma. But what is the essence of it? You might have heard about that story, but I will anyway briefly narrate it to make my point. The story is about a sannyasi. That sannyasi, typical as we can imagine, is in a forest doing his tapasya. I will use some terms as is. I will sometimes, not sometimes, a lot of times I refuse to translate. For example, I will continuously using the word called Dharma. This is why the title intentionally is Dharmik Karyakarta, not a religious Karyakarta, because Dharma is not a religion. Just disclaimer. So, tapasya. That sannyasi was doing his tapasya for many years in the jungle, in the forest. He was sitting in typical, whatever the ideal picture we paint in our mind. He was sitting under the tree. And one day he was sitting there under the tree in the morning and something fell on his head, shoulder. He looks at some small branch or something. So he looks up. So there was a bird sitting on top of the tree. And because of that bird, this thing happened. So his meditation was disturbed. So he got mad. His rage, he's full of rage, looking up. And the moment he looks at that bird is burned to death. Torch fell down on the tree. And that sannyasi is like, wow, I didn't know that my sadhana has progressed so well, that I have developed these special powers now. That if I'm mad at somebody, if I look at somebody with a rage, I can burn down them to death. I was very happy. Like, wow, my sadhana is really going great. Well, time passed by, he was happy. It was 12 o'clock. Time to go to the village nearby. Om Bhavati Bhikshanti. Time to feed, right? Sannyasi, you know the 4 ashramas, the system we have in India. So he goes to a village, stands in front of a house and says, Bhavati Bhiksham Devi. So he heard a voice, a female voice from inside saying, please Swamiji wait, I'll come and offer you some Bhiksha. He waits there for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. He again says, Om Bhavati Bhiksham Devi. Same voice comes, please wait, I'm sorry I'm getting late. Almost 20-25 minutes and this guy starts losing his temper again. And he was about to literally scream at her or maybe leave the place, and that lady comes rushing outside saying, sorry Swamiji, I'm extremely sorry. I was serving my husband, he's ill, he's bedridden, I'm taking care of him. So this Bhiksha got delayed. I'm really sorry. But before offering that Bhiksha to him, that lady says, but by the way, I'm not the bird that fell from the tree. I mean, even just listening to the story, I can see your faces. That is exactly what that sannyasi felt. Oh my God. OMG. How come she knows what happened just like 2-3 hours ago? He couldn't even process that. But he realized one thing. Don't know how, but she's definitely superior than me. Whatever powers I thought I acquired, she's superior than me. And he even asked her, how do you know? And he literally fell at her feet saying, please, you are my guru. Please guide me. And then she says, no, I'm not your guru. By the way, the powers you're talking about, I don't know what you're talking about, but all I do is I fulfill my duties. To the best of my abilities, that's how I develop these powers. I got these powers, potential powers, whatever it is. But I'm not doing like what typical sadhana you think of sannyasi. We think, no? When you say sadhana is sannyasi. She's a housewife, what sadhana are you talking about? But the story has already started speaking to you, if you can read between the lines. I don't want to spend more time on the story, but she says, I'm not your guru. Please go to so-and-so village, couple of kilometers from here, and you will meet a man there with so and so name. He's your guru. Okay. I mean, he's like, no choice, because he saw, right, who she is. So he goes to that another city, another village, and he meets that man. So that man was there, he asked for him, people showed him the place, and he got another shock of his life. He's a butcher cutting the meat. He's like, he's my guru. In our language, are you kidding me? I'm sannyasi. Look at him, what is he doing? But when he goes and says, I'm here, I want to talk to you, I want to meet you, etc. I said, okay, please, this is my business time. My shop will close at 5 p.m. in the evening. Please have a seat and please wait for me. There are some 1 or 2 hours left by the time the shop has to close. So when the shop closes, then he goes, washes his hand and feet and all that, he becomes and comes and start talking to sannyasi, like, okay, now let's talk. Sannyasi is completely shaken by this time now. But he can't understand what's going on. How can this person who is a butcher, cutting, like killing animals, and how can he be my guru when I'm a sannyasi? I want to end the story here. There is some part left. Instead of what he preached him, I'm just trying to make a point. If you have forgotten my point. My point was, all of us are Karyakartas. Our domain can be different. It doesn't matter what karma you are doing. It matters how you do it. And that's why a butcher became a guru of a sannyasi. That is the beauty of Indian culture, that is the beauty of Indian philosophy. That is the point even Swami Vivekananda was trying to make. That is the crux, essence of karma yoga from Bhagavad Gita. You could be a housewife, you could be a sannyasi, you could be a teacher, you could be a military man, doesn't matter. Karma, the nature of the karma doesn't matter. That is decided by other factors. How you do it. Depending on that, even a housewife can be a guru of a sannyasi. So, point, I am a Karyakarta and having open dialogue with all of you. Topic today is time check. Topic today is Dharmik Karyakarta. Well, the very foundation of Vishwa Parishad is Dharma, as we all of us know. And the foundation principle, especially of VHPA, Vishwa Parishad of America, is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is, if you think about, is a method of execution of Dharma. It is how Dharma manifests. It manifests in many different forms. One of the forms is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. That is the foundation principle of VHP USA, the very forum that I am talking about. There is a Shruti from Rigveda. I won't narrate the whole Shruti, but the first portion of the verse says, Krunvantu Vishwa. Have you heard about it? Krunvantu Vishwa. That is exactly what Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is. Let's make the whole world into Arya, all Arya, because Arya is not a race. Arya is a person who is righteous, who is just, who is working for Dharma. So, let's work towards that noble cause. Let's convert the entire world into Arya. That is our North Star. That is the ultimate vision. That's why we are different as Bharatiya. I even hate the word India, by the way. I'll be very frank about it. I don't know why, but Bharat and Bharatiya. That's how globally we think. That's how by birth secular we are. We don't need anybody to teach and preach us secularism. In fact, anybody needs it, it's all other than Hindus who need to listen about secularism. Well, Dharmik Karyakarta. So, what is Dharma after all? Dharma is a very big topic. It is very profound topic. It has a very wider scope. But I will give you a very succinct definition, a very concise definition in the current context we are talking about. What is Dharma? Dharma is a perfect harmony or perfect balance between or among four things. Vyashti, Samashti, Srushti or Parameshti. That's it. You should remember this. Why? To spread this knowledge, because today people have developed an allergy for the word called Dharma. The moment you utter word Dharma, people start running away. The moment you say Hindu, they will start running away. That's why the word Desi, because they find the word Desi as secular. Because they have all wrong misconceptions. You talk to even American, anybody on this planet, and tell him the definition of Dharma. A perfect harmony, again, the balance between Vyashti, Samashti, Srushti and Parameshti. Do you have any problem with this? Don't even call it Dharma, by the way. You ask him, do you have any problem if I lead my life according to these principles? Any sane person will not say no to it. That basically means that person is Dharmic. Whether he happens to be an American or Indian, it doesn't matter. If you haven't understood the terms, Vyashti means an individual. Samashti means society. Srushti means nature. Parameshti means Paramatma. Ishwar. A perfect balance, a perfect harmony amongst all these is called Dharma. So obviously, a person leading his or her life according to these principles is called Dharmik Karyakarta. It's called Dharmik Karyakarta. Obviously, I already explained what Karyakarta means. That's called Dharmik Karyakarta. And there are 4 pillars of VHP USA. I'm focusing a lot on VHP 8 because that's the organization that has invited me here. There are 4 pillars. Samskara, Samparka, Prachar and Seva. These are the 4 pillars of Vishva Hindu Parishad of America. They have chosen these 4 very categorically, very thoughtfully. And why I mention suddenly of those 4? Because the very definition of Dharma I just shared with you, it aligns so well with these 4 things. I said again, Vyashti, Samashti, Srushti and Parameshti. And what are the 4 principles of VHP USA? Samskar is the very first one. So see, Samskar aligns with Vyashti. Because the topic is again Dharmik Karyakarta, and if I consider myself a Karyakarta and I want to become a Dharmik Karyakarta, the very first thing it starts with is called Samskar. Samskar. What is Samskar? All of us know. Again, another very big concept, very deep, profound concept. But in few words, look no beyond. Whose picture is that? Prabhu Shri Ramachandra. An embodiment, a personification of all the dharmic values is Prabhu Ramachandra. There are people who follow dharmic principles and they are called dharmic. Why? Because they follow these principles. And then there are Prabhu Shri Ramachandra, looking at his life, the principles are written, which are called rules of Dharma. Maryada Purushottam. Someone asked Ravana one day, you are trying to convince Sita for so long. She is not falling for your plans. But you have these mic powers, right? You can disguise yourself as anybody. All of us know from Ramayana and Mahabharata, they used to have those mic powers. Why don't you disguise yourself as Rama himself and go present yourself to her? Maybe she'll accept you. By the way, a side topic, because a lot of people don't know these things. Nowadays there is a fashion to prove how great Ravana was. Ravana had certain qualities, no doubt about it. But he is not our idol. You cannot promote a Ravana because, and why I suddenly change the topic? People think, oh yeah, he must have been great. Sita was her captive. Bhagavati Sita Janaki was his captive. He could have done anything to her, but look at him, he did not even touch how great he was. That is one theory that is sold. And we said, oh yeah, this guy is right. Because neither him nor you have actually studied the original text of Ramayana. Ravana has done a lot of bad things with a lot of women before that. Yes. And one of them complained to Brahmadeva, and who gave him a sharp saying what? The next time you touch a woman against her wish, you will die on the spot. Your head will be broken into 100 pieces. That's why he did not touch her. Do not try to glorify Rama. I'll come back to my main topic. So why don't you disguise yourself as Rama and present it to her? And there is a verse in Ramayana, and he says, Kartum chetasi Rama rupam. Listen to the Sanskrit, but you will understand. Kartum chetasi Rama rupam amalam durvadara shamalam. Tucham brahmapadam param paravadu sangha prasanga kuta. Karatum chetasi Rama rupam. Even if I think about taking a rupa of Rama, are tucham brahmapadam param paravadu sangha prasanga kuta. Does that question even doesn't arise? Personification, embodiment of Dharma. Point I am trying to make, if I consider myself a Dharmik Karyakarta, am I following those sanskars? It is very easy to work for an organization, but it is very difficult to become the embodiment of the values that very organization represents. This is why I said VHP USA. It starts with samskara first. Do I have like what we call Devghar in Maharashtrian language, like God's temple inside the house? Do I go to the God every day? Do I do some namasmarana? Do I at least recite one chapter from Bhagavad Gita? What right do I have to say I am a Hindu? Think about it, guys. Very hard question I ask everywhere. And then we complain about, oh, look at this new generation. What to do with them? Now they are, my kid or my son or daughter is in college. It's 21st century. There's anti-Semitism going on. These people are holding, I don't want to get political here, but they are holding some wrong flags in their hand and represent the wrong side. Well, what did you do as a parent before they went to college is the question. What kind of an environment you had in your own house, samskar? What do you do personally? Can you even recite one chapter of Bhagavad Gita? Have you ever read Bhagavatam? Do you do puja? If not every day, you are very busy, we know. How about Saturday, Sunday? How about at least once a week? No. Then if you don't do any of this, how can you become a Dharmik Karyakarta? How can you work for an organization like VHP? I'm going to ask some hard questions here. So samskar is the first one. We are supposed to do, ought to do all these things. The second one, VHP, second pillar of VHPA again is samparka. Samparka, as all of you can understand the meaning of samparka, but think about it for a moment. Samparka itself begins from your own family. Of course, samparka involves society, but before society, when I go beyond, in my introduction, it was mentioned that for us 14 years we are running that Bala Samskar Varga in the Bay Area, California, and we are already, by the way, realizing the fruits of that. We can talk about it offline, but the hard work of 14 years is now paying off. So I did not stop myself giving sanskar only to my own kids, but we accepted everybody who said, please help me, more than welcome. And as she mentioned, that class is being run free of class, not a single dollar charge for us 40 years. So I'm investing my personal time and energy. Why? Sampark starts with your own family. Because I see that as a big problem everywhere I go. I'm traveling a lot these days for my own work I do, as I mentioned, spiritual work. And one consistent problem I see in most of the families, there are some honorable exceptions, but one consistent problem, all the people are great, but they have miserably failed to pass those values on to the next generation. And unfortunately, most of the time is late because the kids are already in the high school or maybe college or even beyond college. When the clay, that pot of clay, when it's wet, you can give it whatever the shape you want. But once it has found its own shape, then if you start giving it a shape, it becomes very difficult. Not that it's impossible, but it is difficult. And then it employs different principles and discipline to shape their mind later on. It's very difficult. My point? Sampark. What are we doing for our next generation? Because think about it, 100 years we talked about, right? Imagine how many years of life have left, individually speaking, about us. Because we never think like that, but the life of an organization can be 100 years, can be 500 years, can be 1,000 years. The life of a society is even bigger. The life of a nation is even bigger. The life of the planet is even bigger. The life of a universe is even bigger. But the effective years of your life and my life, when I say effective, how many years can we really work? Think about it. By the time we realize what needs to be done in life, we are already 40 or 50 years in our life. Correct? How long can you work? Maybe 60 years, maybe 70 years. How many years? 30 years? Infinitesimal amount when compared to the life of our organization. My whole point is, it's whether we like it or not, it's a fact that the impact we as an individual can create is always going to be limited. Always going to be limited. And that's why these four things, maintaining the harmony and the balance, is extremely important. And sanskar is a big thing. Sampark we are talking about, which relates to, I was talking about Vyashti, now this relates to Samashti. Relates to Samashti. Because Samashti means society, and society begins with my own family first, and then the society at large. So think about it, hard questions I'm asking. And if kids have already gone to college, what can we do? That was one of the principles I had in mind when I started that Bala Sanskar work. I will now say certain things in Marathi. कॉलेजला गेल्यानंतर त्यांची डोकी बिघडवण्याच्या आधी आपण घडवली पाहिजे. Whatever things that is going on in the campus, if you call it डोकी बिघडवणं, ती का बिघडली? कारण तुम्ही घडवलीच नाही आधी म्हणून. And those guys have the well-oiled machine there. They are investing billions of dollars. That guy like George Soros. That's why they are seeing success. Because they are easy ground. Oh, these guys, they have no clue about their own country, their own culture, their own dharma. Perfect. A lot of these kids who were protesting during those times, they were asked, kids of Harvard, so-called geniuses, by the way, why are you protesting? Do you even know the history between those two countries, which we had nothing to do with? I don't know. My friend said, I'm going, join me. The other one said, I'm being paid $50 an hour, which is like a great thing for a college kid to earn. These are the reasons you are protesting. We are responsible for it. As parents, we failed somewhere. Sanskar. Third one is Prachar. VHP. I'm talking about VHP again. Prachar, which equates to the Srishti. Because Why? Because prachar is more wider in nature. It encompasses even the humans, even the nature also. And whenever the moment prachar is uttered, think no beyond Samartha Ramadasa Swami. He established 1200 mutts. Imagine, 1200. If you have ever read the history when Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj was born, why he was the greatest king of the world, what kind of a situation was there in Maharashtra? What a hopeless situation was there. Women were not even safe walking on the road during the broad daylight. Why I am saying all these things? On that background, Samartha Ramdas Swami, he established 1200 mutts. And yes, by the way, if you don't know, no, there was no WhatsApp. There was no Google. There was no internet. There was no media of communication, a remote communication, which all of us conveniently is available at fingertip. But still he managed. He covered the entire length and the breadth of the country. How did he manage? My point is, if I want to be a Dharmik Karyakarta, we should be studying characters like this. How did he manage? Should be my topic of investigation. What did he do differently that I am not doing? And what should I do so that I do the work I am doing more effectively? That Samartha Ramdas Swami says, पहिले ते हरिकथा निरूपण, दुसरे ते राजकारण, तिसरे ते सावधपण सर्व विषय. I translate that into English if you don't understand Marathi. पहिले ते हरिकथा निरूपण. So पहिले धार्मिक कार्यकर्ता. First I am धार्मिक. कार्यकर्ता comes next. I am first धार्मिक. पहिले ते हरिकथा निरूपण. दुसरे ते राजकारण. And the definition of राजकारण is not politics, by the way, when we talk about Samartha Ramdas. It basically means samajakaran, not politics. I jokingly say, not BJP, but VHP. Just to make my point. So that is samajakaran. And third he says, savadhapan. You should be alert all the time. There are certain things which are done publicly. There are certain things which must be done behind closed doors. There is a separate chapter in Das Bodha called Mahanta Nirupan. You should read all those qualities. Samartha Ramdas Swami says, a Mahanta, a Karyakarta must possess. Look no beyond that. Samartha Ramdas Swami, when we talk about Prachar and Prasar, and there is one more point I will make. Because my domain is spiritual, as I mentioned in the beginning, I see a problem on both the sides. I already talked about the problem about Dharmik Karyakarta. In the name of Samskara, I ask you that do you recite or do you know, can you recite even one single chapter of Bhagavad Gita? That is a problem with Dharmik Karyakarta. Those who are actually given their time and energy and maybe life for the Dharmik Karya, they themselves don't understand what the Dharma means and they do nothing about the Dharma. And on the other hand, the problem I see in the spiritual domain I work in, those guys who consider themselves spiritual, they think, oh, I'm doing my sadhana, I am my guru, I'm doing nama sadhana, I'm doing meditation, I'm doing all that. Great. What are you doing for your Dharma? I say this because I experienced certain problems. She's sitting in front of me. She knows we had a fight we put up in California against a senator in California. We wanted to recall her because she attacked my Dharma. I don't want to get political here. That's why I will not go into details. But no organization could take up that task because the organizations here are not allowed to do that legally. They are all 501c3. So we as an individual citizen of this country are legally bound and legally powered to take action against a senator who is not doing his or her job. That effort I was leading. I was one of the leaders to do that. And the very people I work with, they were the very first one to question me. Dada, why are we doing this? Are we not spiritual people? Why are we getting involved in all this dharmic thing and political thing? I said, you're right. You're right, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Vidyaranya Swami, who wrote a great book called Panchadashi, which all you spiritual guys read and study rest of your life. Maybe you shouldn't have put Hariher and book, establish them as kings, and then dedicate his life for the spiritual world. Maybe he was wrong, because you are right. Then he must be wrong. Maybe Samantananda Swami was also wrong, because he wrote another great book called Dasbodh. He must have said to his Shishya, Kalyana, Dhala Kalyan Jagacha. Dasbodh dila na apan jagala आता. Now you and I, let's sit on our laurels. No, he didn't do that. He worked so hard to support the Swaraj by Chhatrapati Shivaji. So he must have been wrong, because you are right. I'm sarcastically speaking. They understood what I'm trying to say. That is the mistake on the other side that happens. That I'm happy, I'm doing my own, I'm following my spiritual practice. Why should I get involved with all this dharmic stuff? You are wrong. Because dharma is like a shell of a coconut. And adhyatma, paramartha, spiritualism is like that flesh inside. Yes, the flesh is more important, but it is not safe unless there is a shell outside. That's dharma. So everybody they are bound to do their duty towards dharma. It doesn't matter whether you are spiritual or you are not spiritual. And on the other hand, if you are dharmic, you should understand what dharma means and what those principles are. So there is a need to educate both the sides equally. I will talk about the last point and then I'll stop. So we talked about samskara, we talked about samparka, we talked about prachara, and the last one, but not the least, is seva. Because the moment you say Karyakarta, what do you think the first thing? Seva. Seva. And seva equates to what? Again, Vyashti, Samashti, Srushti, Parmeshti. Parmeshti. Again, trying to make my point, underscore the point of Dharmik Karyakarta, there is a beautiful verse in chapter 18th of Bhagavad Gita. And Lord Krishna is literally defining, if you ask me, who the Karyakarta is. The verse goes like this. Mukto sanganaham vadi dhrutyo saha samanvita siddha siddhyo nirvikara karta satvika uccha. So beautiful verse. If you are working for VHP, of course A, this is one verse you should just memorize by heart. Because Lord is declaring that, what is Lord saying? Mukto sanganaham vadi. Mukto sangha is free from attachment. He is free from ego. He is full of perseverance, dedication. Dhrutyotsaha samanvita. Dhruti, determination, conviction. Utsaha, I don't have to translate in utsaha for you guys. But the most important thing Lord declares, Siddhya siddhyo, siddhi asiddhi, nirvikara, karta satvika uchyate. Because there comes a phase in everybody's life, especially in the life of a Karyakarta, and I'm sure you guys can now relate to what I'm saying. We feel dejected, we feel disappointed, we feel what a hopeless this society is, what hopeless these all Hindus are, my brothers and sisters. Why don't they understand that we are under attack? Why don't they understand? How can these guys be so ignorant about our own dharma and our own country and our own culture? Don't we feel that? We feel that every day with different varying intensity. We should not. We should not. This verse is telling me. Then what am I supposed to do? If I want to be a Dharmik Karyakarta, then I should be doing what I am ought to do. That's it. What comes out of it is neither in my control, nor he's saying is in your control. So that has declared even before 18th chapter, Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. That's why a real Dharmik Karyakarta, you will see, is never disturbed. You watch, if you consider somebody, oh, he's the ideal Karyakarta, he's an ideal person I'm following in the work I do, you will notice all these characteristics. You'll notice all these great leaders. You see Modi ji. I happened to see him in person from this distance, by the way. I was invited to a program in Nagpur just 6 months ago. When he was there to inaugurate that eye hospital. I was invited. I was fortunate one of them. I was invited. I went there. And I'm talking about the time before Operation Sindhu. Of course, nobody knew about it, but of course, he knew about it. He knew about it. Things were happening behind the door. Things were cooking behind the door. Plans were being made. But when he was there to inaugurate that eye hospital, Modi ji was not only physically there, he was 100% mentally there. You can't even see what is and tell what is going on in his mind. He is fully dedicated. He is completely present in the moment. That's why he is Modi ji. That's why he is a great leader. And it's not only Indians, this is saying, we know. It's the entire world who is present today. These are the characteristics of the Dharmik Karyakarta. And he calls himself Karyakarta. Look at him. Look at him. He's the head of our country. But he said, no, I'm just a simple Karyakarta. I happen to be a prime minister. You happen to be a teacher. You happen to be a doctor. I happen to be a prime minister, but I'm a Karyakarta. That's why Namaskar to Modi ji. It doesn't go to his head that I'm a prime minister of a country, 1.4 billion people. No, I'm just a Karyakarta, doing my job. They have given me a job of a prime minister. So, that is the verse I am saying all of us should memorize. And the last point I will make and stop. Another great character all of us should be studying as a Karyakarta is Hanumanji. Hanumanji. There is no other character greater than him. Hanumanji, when he's talking to Lord Rama, he's explaining Prabhu Ramachandra asked him, Hanumanji, what is your relationship? How do you see your relationship? Deha dushtya tu daso. Hanumanji's answer was a beautiful answer. Deha dushtya tu dasoham. Jiva dushtya tadam shakaha. Atma dushtya tvamevaham. Iti me nishchita mati. Deha dushtya. Deha dushtya, you understand? You are the Lord, I am your servant. I am your servant. I am serving my country, I am serving my organization, I am serving the society. Deha dushtya. Jiva dushtya, I am part of you. That's a relationship. Because he is Atma Ram, it's everybody's heart. I'm not talking about Prabhu Ramachandra who was a son of the Dasharatha, King Dasharatha. No, I'm talking about Atma Ram, the God that resides within the divinity within all of us. The divinity within all of us. I'm part of you. But Atma Dushtya, you and I are the same. Aham Brahmasmi. Aham Brahmasmi. Iti me nishchita mati. This is my conviction, this is my firm belief, Hanumanji says. And that is seva. If I have these foundational principles well etched in my memory, if I follow those every moment of my waking life, if these are my guiding principles of the work I do, and I initially said it doesn't matter what work I do, but if I do the work like this, then I am a truly blessed Dharmik Karyakarta. Having said that, having shared my thoughts, I offer whatever thoughts you might have liked at the feet of, again, Prabhu Ramachandra and my Sadguru, Dr. Tara. And with that, I'll stop now. Shri Sadgurunath Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Jai Raghuveer Samarth.